Hello, it's that time again. Get up, get off the couch, and tackle your own to-do list. Time to test this. Stay tuned. Hello, Hamilton. Welcome to the Just Ask Bob show. I am your host, Bob Assadourian. Remember, every episode, every program is based on you, the viewer. Email submissions where we do our best to answer your home renovation questions. Today's email is from Mohammed in Stony Creek, Ontario. Hello, Bob. What is a good toilet brand to install? And is there a way to replace the old style fill valve with the floating big ball inside the toilet tank? Thank you, sir, for the email, and thank you for the reference to the floating ball. That system has been used for decades. That comes from the origins of toilets. The floating ball would rise in relation to the water level, which would activate or shut off the fill valve. Now we have a different system, originally patented, I believe, by Fluidmaster. Some call it the floating donut, and it rides up the shaft of the Fluidmaster and it'll turn the water level on or off. Now, as you can see, we've got a nice toilet here. This is Bob's favorite. This has always been my top pick. This is the American Standard Champion 4. I first installed one of these toilets almost 20 years ago. Absolutely phenomenal toilet. Now, what we've done, again, in a bathroom like this, there's not a lot of room to show you a proper install. So back at the shop, Bob's gone the great lengths to teach you today. We have two toilets. We have one of the finest toilets in the world, the Champion 4, and we also have a terrible toilet. We are going to take them apart and reinstall them and show you the pros and cons of each toilet and show you the right way to install them. The best place to do that is in the shop, so stay with us. Now, which one would you want in your ensuite bathroom? Think about it now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, you work hard all week, you're tired, your spouse gets up, goes to the bathroom, and what do you hear? Not good. What do you hear over here? Silence. Bob loves it. That's why the American Standard Champion 4 has always been a Bob's top pick. You know, I can remember when this toilet came into the marketplace anywhere between 18 to 20 years ago. I bought it for my first home. Actually, it was just a little bit before I became a licensed contractor. You'd see this toilet at the big box stores, and the big advertisement was, if those of you that remember, it can flush a dozen golf balls or a dozen, I don't know what they were, black plastic pellets that they were using in the demo. And they actually had the toilet set up on a wooden base with some kind of a plastic liner, and you could see the golf balls going through the toilet. So the point is, not every toilet is created equal. This toilet retails for anywhere between $300 and $350. You know, keep an eye out for it. It is often in the flyers on sale. This one here, it's a special, not my special, $102.99. And I can tell you, it's just a piece of crap, literally. Now, this reminds me of a conversation I had many years ago with a representative from American Standard. So for those of you viewers out there that own a business or a small business, try to follow this now. The representative explained to me that American Standard, as a global company, they are proud on 2 aspects. They proudly create one of the world's finest toilets, if not the finest toilet, the Champion 4, and they also proudly manufacture one of the worst toilets out there. Now, you can Google this. You can Google toilet flushing comparisons. There are many studies which actually show you the various models of toilets and the flushing standards using some type of template for waste. Now, the one that American Standard makes, that's one of the worst ones, it turns out to be their moneymaker. Because think about it now, statistically only 20% of general contractors will spend the money on this one for their homeowners or even promote it. That leaves 80% of contractors buying the cheap one. Now, if you look at homeowners themselves, again, the vast majority of homeowners, sadly, will buy the cheaper unit. Then you look at builders across the province of Ontario. You'll never find this from a builder, and it's not even on their upgrades list. So American Standard, from a business perspective, not really from a reputation one as far as I'm concerned, from a business perspective, they're smart. They can capture the entire market by having both toilets available. So it's all about, it's all about education. It's all about consumer awareness. Later on during the show, there's a special reason why we have two toilets here. We're going to disassemble them, reassemble them, and show you why you're spending almost $200 more on this one. Now let's take a moment to talk about some of the tools and some of the parts that you're going to need. Now first of all, we'll jump to the bolts, and there's a reason for this. Now this is the bolt that the actual toilet comes with. I don't like this bolt. This is the one that I recommend, the one on my left. Now, American Standard, a couple years ago, what they did is they came out with a marketing idea on the Champion toilet. What they talked about was, the way they promoted it is everything included in the box, right from the mounting hardware, right to the wax seal, and they branded it as toolless. So this is branded to the masses, to the homeowners, that you don't need any tools to put this toilet together. So what they did is they got a special type of bolt with a plastic receiver on the bottom that doesn't need any tools. So they give you the little plastic tool in it, and the cap to cover your toilet bowl clicks on. But the problem is it's a very, very thin bolt. There is a chance with that your toilet can come loose. So when you're buying the hardware, I suggest you buy a solid brass, large toilet bolt. It makes sense. Now the other thing that they're doing is in the package, they're giving you, well, this isn't the one, but in the package they're including a wax seal. I throw those away. Do not use the wax seal that comes with the toilet because it's very thin. Now to show you the difference here on the marketplace, let's just look at the thickness here. So these are both made by Odie. This one is very thin, this one is very thick. It matters, it makes a difference, because rarely are you going to encounter a tiled floor or any other type of floor in a bathroom that's perfectly level. You know, we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. We're talking about approximately $5 in difference. So again, invest for the proper one. This is the one we're actually going to use on the show today when we install the toilet. Now another thing also here is the rubber gasket. This rubber seal I wouldn't use unless it was for temporary reasons. So there's been times when it's only one bathroom in the customer's home and we're remodeling it. And unfortunately, we need to reinstall the toilet every day. So we'll use this disposable one because it doesn't leave a mess. But I would never ever use this plastic or rubber to be permanent. Now, we also have the fill hoses. Now let's talk about this one first. This is plastic. I don't recommend this one at all. It can burst under pressure. I really wouldn't trust this one going away for a week, leaving on holidays with the water pressure at full. What I like is the metal braided units. These are very nice units. There is plastic inside, but it's metal braided. So I would trust this one much more. You know, if you have a flood or a leak, if this bursts and your bathroom's upstairs and you've got hardwood flooring downstairs, you know, that calls for a disaster in the making. Another item we're going to take a peek at now, which is equally important, is the shut-off valves. This shut-off valve here is the old style. You've got to keep turning and turning and turning. So this has a rubber seal inside. So what happens with this, just like the old faucets, when you over tighten, you could end up wearing out the rubber, or over time from hard water, it ends up seizing. Now I learned this a long time ago, nearly 15 years ago. When I would quote a job to replace a toilet, I simply went in to replace the toilet. Now the shut off, it hadn't been touched in years, if ever. So obviously, I've got to turn and turn this to shut the water off. When I turn it back on, 1 or 2 days later, customer calls me, they say they have a leak. Because these are junk. Once you disturb them, they end up leaking right out of here. It's not worth it. So what I tell my customers now, If I'm doing a toilet, I'm also installing a ball valve shutoff. These are just beautiful. These are a quarter turn off, quarter turn on. So this is the direction of the water flow. That means you're oriented with the flow direction. It's on. Turn it against the flow, it's off. Very, very well worth the expense of putting it in. Any toilet my company installs, I don't care how old your shutoff valve is or how old your flexible supply line is. These two items are critical. They're for peace of mind, not only for the homeowner, but for myself as a tradesmaster and a contractor, that I don't get a call back. Now, believe me when I say there's a big difference with these toilets. Before we take them apart after the break, if you just look at them visually, this is what you call a round bowl. This is what you call an elongated bowl. We'll lift the seats on them too so you can see the shape difference. This is much more comfortable. This is not as much. Now for the viewers at home, it may not be easy to see this from where you are, but this toilet is also, American Standard calls it comfort height. Other manufacturers have different names for it, but it is approximately 1 inch to 1.5 inches taller than this unit here. So for that specific reason, it's a little bit more comfortable to use, plus the shape of it also allows you to have more comfort as you're using it. Up next after break, we've got the Triple R apprentice, Frank Loricella, one of our finest. He's going to join us here in the shop to take apart both toilets, re-put them back together to demystify the process of why one's $200 more than the other. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Just Ask Bob show. Today's episode's on toilets. We have a simulation here in our shop. And most importantly, welcome back, Frank. Frank Loricella, our finest apprentice. Frank's been with us for years. He's going to help us tackle this project. So the first thing, Frank, I want to show the homeowners the wrong way to install the wax. And I know you know the wrong way from the right way. Yep. Put it in, simulate it.
So the wrong way is this way.
Why is that the wrong way?
Because these wax seals are actually directional, and they come with a little flange here that goes into the hole.
Now earlier when I was showing off the various choices in wax, this just reminds me, I also forgot, believe it or not, maybe it's a 50-cent premium, I don't know, but you can buy cheap wax that does not have the black directional flange. So again, it's all about the direction. This will help the waste go through as opposed to not having a flange. So for the extra few pennies, makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely.
And we've got the strong bolts, makes sense again compared to the skinny ones that come with most toilet models. All right, we're ready to lift the toilet in. For those at home, please, 2 people to lift the toilet, they are heavy. Now, for those of you at home, it's very important that you line it up right.
And your foot's in the way.
Okay, Frank. I'm good on my side?
I think I'm good here.
You're good? Okay. Now right there I can feel the wax. So you want to rock it. You want to push, keep rocking until it sets up. Don't mind our floor here, it's just a prop. Now, one of the ways you could have run into problems is to crack the toilet. 2 possible ways to crack the toilet: when bolting it to the floor or when bolting the tank to the bowl. So you have to go very slow. Frank, you can start it off on your side.
Perfect. Thank you.
So let's go finger tight first. So this you can do at the same time. This is like ceramic tile. It can't take flex. This isn't plastic. It's not made out of wood. So you have to snug it down equally, evenly, and at the same time, right and left. So we'll just start off hand tight. Are you almost to the bottom, Frank?
All the way down.
Oh, give me a sec. I got to catch up. So see, just hand tight. Okay, you give it a few turns?
I got 3 turns here.
Okay. 3 turns on the one side. 3 turns on the left. Your turn, a couple more.
Perfect.
It's all about the pressure being applied evenly. That'll distribute the wax and it'll keep it from cracking. Sorry, Frank, that was 3 as well?
Yep.
Well, they're really half turns, right?
Yep. 1.5.
1.5. Let's see how tight she is. A little more. Not the world's best subfloor. It is a mock-up here, a prop, but we're trying to get the point across. A lot more room here than working in a congested small bathroom.
Perfect.
Thanks.
3 full turns there.
3 full. Okay, you don't want to over tighten it. That's good for now. Now, before we put the tank on, let's take a moment to talk about the great debate about whether to apply caulking to the gap where your toilet meets your floor, your finished floor in the case of the viewers at home. The way I look at it is, if you have a living space beneath the toilet, meaning if your basement's finished and the toilet's on the main floor or you're on the second floor, if you caulk this and the wax seal fails, the water that's going to be leaking can't penetrate through the caulking, so it's going to stay in there. It's going to collect mold, and it's eventually going to find its way down. So you're going to end up seeing a leak on the ceiling beneath the toilet. So I prefer not to use any caulking. That way, if you start to see water coming out, you address it. That may mean pulling up the toilet and either replacing the wax or even correcting the floor if there's any bounce or any movement to it. One item we talk about that often, that on many other seasons, that's extremely important, is the licensing aspect in Hamilton. Some municipalities license their general contractors, some do not. In the case of Hamilton, your contractor will write a 2-hour examination on the Ontario Building Code, show proof of liability insurance, and pass a police check. That's what's critical. So the license is there, make sure you ask for it. Now we're going to be installing the tank. Common mistake homeowners make, and I assume some contractors, is they forget the gasket. So this is your tank, you're going to be mounting it to your bowl. If the gasket's not on, you're definitely going to leak as soon as you flush the toilet. So you can see, if you want to look at the shape of the gasket, all of the edges, that has to line up the angles. It lines up with the angles that are here. So it's not hard to put on. That's not going to leak. Now we'll take a moment also to show you the inside. Now this is what makes this toilet special. This has the Fluid Master fill valve. Beautiful system. Past toilets, the toilet that we chose to show you earlier in the show, that is a terrible toilet, that has a ball, a floating ball. This is a tri-tested and proven system. The Fluid Master will give you no issues. American Standard also goes to the trouble of giving you a pure silicone gasket. This blue gasket is true silicone, and you have a tall flush tower with a 4-inch diameter. So this flushes beautifully. Very, very nice, well-made toilet. At any cost, avoid the ones on the marketplace that have the floating ball. Now, what you want to do is make sure these pins, these threaded bolts, line up with the holes. There's one, there's two. Now, for those of you at home, if you can see the gap, really important, you can see that large gap. You have to tighten right, left, gradually, evenly. American Standard also gives you a tool. Very handy. You don't need your own wrench or water pump pliers. This is made to receive it. So I'll start on my end. It is a little awkward here. So you want to line these up. And you want to push up. Try to push up on the first shot. Okay, so just like with the bowl, we're going to hand tighten. So Frank, same thing. Your hand tightened all the way?
Yep.
You're fast. Okay, now I'm going to use the tool. So you see the gap here? See how it's starting to close? You don't go much more than that. You will crack this very easily. You will crack it. This is a compression now. This is going to squeeze down the gasket. Thank you. There you go. "17 years I've been installing these. Never cracked a toilet yet, but it can happen. You have to work carefully, you have to work slowly. And I strongly suggest when you purchase these toilets, before taking them home from the store, open them up, look them over. Generally, when I buy a toilet, I probably look over 2 or 3 of them before finding the right one. They get a lot of glazing defects, little pits, little scratches. You want to make sure you've looked it over and you're happy with it before taking it home and installing it. Once you've installed it and flushed it a few times, it'd be a little difficult to return it. How's our gap looking, Frank?
I think we're just about there.
Another way you can tell sometimes is, that's nice. Let me see. Beautiful. Generally speaking, putting a level across the top of the tank doesn't always work because in some cases, or in most cases, your tile floor can be off. So generally you want to tighten it until the gap's even, and you want to be sure this doesn't move. If you stop at the halfway point, this will really, really wiggle. Beautiful. Okay, Frank, get out of here. Bob's got to go, but I got to grab the phone first. And I mean go. Until next time, Hamilton, visit us on the net, www.justaskbob.com. Again, that's www.justaskbob.com, or pick up the phone, we're old school, 289-649-0196. Again, that's 289-649-0196. Thank you, Hamilton. Cool. You think it's gonna fly? It's gonna fly off. Your dad would love that, wouldn't he?